Trapped in a zombie apocalypse, two desperate travelers flee for their lives. Will they escape the undead or become their next victims? The film begins with a news report about aggressive infected individuals. Despite the efforts of doctors, scientists, and commanders, the outbreak cannot be controlled. Then we see Luke watching cartoons at home. Suddenly, TV signal drops, and helicopter sounds are heard. Luke searches for his mom and finds his sister Abigail, who scares him, amidst reports of accidents on the disrupted TV signals. Luke and Abigail find their mom talking to their dad, who wants them to move to a safe place due to the worsening situation. He reassures Abigail of his safety, showing her a custom-made bracelet with her name, promising to join them soon. As they pack to leave, gunshots are heard, and the mother grabs her kids, fleeing the house. While loading the car, a zombie appears, attacks the mother, and bites her neck. Abigail hides under the car while Luke tries to stop the zombie, but it turns towards him and attacks, biting him and killing him. Abigail watches in horror as this happens. Luke, in pain and agony, calls out to his sister Abigail, and Abigail turns towards him, but before she can reach him, we see that their mother, severely injured, begins to regain consciousness and has become a zombie, and she crawls towards her son, intending to eat him mercilessly. As Abigail watches, she tries to stop her mother, but her mother, now a zombie, turns towards her and heads towards the car, pulling Abigail out. Just then, a man arrives and shoots the zombie woman. He then approaches Abigail, who is hiding under the car. This man is Cassius, the main lead of the movie. Cassius gently pulls Abigail out from under the car, reassuring her that she is safe now. Abigail hugs him, relieved. Then, Cassius picks Abigail up, and just then, Abigail's brother starts to regain consciousness, now a zombie. To protect Abigail, Cassius asked her to cover her eyes and ears, then shoots Luke. It's an awful moment that Abigail is forced to witness the horrific death of her mother and brother right in front of her eyes. We see that 10 years have passed, and the city has become a ruin where no signs of life are visible. Then we see that Abigail is still with Cassius, and they are both in the jungle, hunting a deer. After Cassius kills and skins the animal, Abigail marks her presence on a tree. Suddenly, she senses someone's presence and readies her gun, scanning her surroundings. However, there is no one there. At night, they set up camp, and Cassius secures the area with safety threads and bells to alert them if any animals or zombies approach. After dinner, Cassius checks the map, while Abigail draws him and their surroundings. As they sleep, the safety thread is triggered, and the bells ring, waking Cassius. He quietly gets up, checks, and finds something attached to the thread. He then sneaks to his horse, readies his gun, and waits. Suddenly, a zombie groans and approaches, but Cassius quickly shoots and kills it. Abigail wakes up and they both see the dead zombie, realizing that a pack of zombies must be nearby. They decide to leave the area and start preparing to depart the next morning. Then they ride off on their horses, and we see that along the way, Cassius is still training Abigail. At one point, they spot a car in the distance, and they quickly dismount and point their guns. We see a man pointing a gun from the car, and a zombie charges towards him. Cassius and Abigail watch this unfold through their gun's microscope. Without thinking, Abigail quickly fires a bullet to kill the zombie, but it hits the victim instead, and the zombie attacks the man. Cassius reprimands Abigail for her hasty action. They then ride their horses to the car, where the man is lying wounded and taking his last breaths. Cassius approaches him and tells Abigail to check the car. Cassius then mercifully kills the man with an arrow and takes his shoes. Abigail is still in the car, and Cassius also gets in. A radio call comes in, and Abigail wants to answer, but Cassius advises her not to and suggests they leave instead. Abigail hesitates, and just then, 3 more cars arrive. Abigail and Cassius approach the cars, and the people inside point guns at them. When a girl searches them, She finds the shoes, which angers the group leader, who decides to kill them. Abigail tries to speak, but a man points a gun at her, and Cassius quickly snatches the gun and points at the opposing group. Just then, a pregnant woman named Megan gets out of the car and stops Cassius, assuring him that they won't harm Abigail and Cassius. Suddenly, many zombies appear from all directions, and the group starts shooting them. The zombies manage to attack some of the group members, including the leader. Cassius then puts Abigail, Megan, and David in a car and starts to drive away. A zombie approaches, but Cassius shoots it. As they drive away, a zombie jumps onto the car, but Cassius quickly pushes it off. The zombie that killed the leader sees the zombie woman die and lets out a groan in anger, which Cassius had caused. I think this zombie is the leader of the zombies. On the other side, Cassius's car breaks down on the road and they decide to abandon it, taking their belongings and continuing on foot. Along the way, they inspect various buildings and finally decide to stay in one for the night. They spend the evening eating and introducing themselves. Afterward, Cassius sets up safety threads and rings outside the building and also installs a bomb for added security. Meanwhile, a disagreement arises between Cassius and Abigail, and she goes to the rooftop to draw. Meanwhile, zombies are searching everywhere for the group and have reached their abandoned car. Inside the building, Cassius and David are both awake, talking, when David feels a sudden pain in his leg, but he ignores it. The night passes uneventfully. Abigail is still sitting on the roof when she suddenly hears groaning sounds. She quickly gets down, but a zombie suddenly appears and attacks her. Abigail kills it, but another zombie attacks her, and she kills it too. However, it reanimates and starts chasing Abigail again. Abigail runs back upstairs with the zombie chasing her. With great agility, Abigail jumps past the broken glass window and the zombie rushes past, falling out the window. Cassius arrives just in time and catches Abigail. Outside, a pack of zombies is approaching. When one of them triggers the safety thread, the bomb explodes, further angering the zombies' leader. You might wonder where Cassius and the others have gone. They have exited the building and are on their way. Along the way, Abigail recognizes a familiar place, which she knows is close to an airport. Megan and David are thrilled to hear this. But Cassius is skeptical, saying that the airport has been inactive for years. However, the group decides to head to the airport anyway. On their way, they spot a car outside a building, which they investigate, in which an infected man has been murdered. While inside the building, there is a woman and children are hiding, but no one notices them. Abigail and Cassius gather the available supplies and also find a wheelchair, which they use to transport Megan. Now let's see if they can safely reach the airport. Inside the building, zombies attack the hidden children. Meanwhile, Abigail and the others have arrived at the airport, only to find that Cassius was right. There are no airplanes. Cassius regrets coming here, but then David becomes angry and Megan calms him down. Abigail points to a hangar that her father used to own. She takes everyone there and unlocks it, revealing an airplane inside, which brings new hope. However, since the plane hasn't been used in a long time, it needs repairs, which David agrees to do. David and Megan work on the plane while Cassius and Abigail explore the house, where Abigail finds old family photos and becomes emotional. Then she joins Cassius on upper floor, and when they look through the binoculars, they see zombies approaching, so they quickly gather their belongings and run towards the airplane, which is still not fully repaired. As they board the plane, zombies arrive, and Cassius shoots some of the incoming zombies. They manage to get the plane started, and Abigail struggles to start the engines as zombies chase after them. The plane takes off, and zombies try to climb onto it. A zombie opens the plane's door and attacks Cassius, but he shoots it. The group finally takes to the skies, relieved. However, shortly after, their plane starts shaking violently, and the engine fails, causing the plane to smoke and crash land in a jungle. Fortunately, they survive the crash and regain consciousness. After exiting the plane, they find themselves at a railway station. They decide to spend the night in a train. At night, Megan is sleeping in one compartment, while David takes a lantern and goes to another. Later, Megan wakes up hungry and finds Cassius awake. She eats and then thanks Cassius with a handmade crochet gift. They start talking, but meanwhile, David is trying to shoot himself. But why? He looks at his leg and we realize that he was bitten by a zombie, which is why he wants to die before turning into one. He throws his infected leg's bandage out of the train. They spend the night there. In the morning they leave, and as evening falls again, David's condition worsens. Cassius notices his injured leg and realizes that David will soon become a zombie. He had kept this a secret. Cassius grabs David, intending to kill him, but doesn't do it yet. They see a field ahead with a house, indicating someone lives there. Cassius approaches the house and the lights turn on. A voice asks about their presence, and despite Cassius's warning, Abigail responds. A man appears, pointing a gun at them. Cassius also moves forward and they stand before the man who is Norton. He orders them to put all their weapons in a nearby chest. Once they're unarmed, Norton takes them inside his house. Inside the house, they notice a mechanical hand structure drawn on the paper, indicating that the owner might be a scientist or technician, but he is actually an engineer. After introductions, Cassius asks about Norton's wife, but Norton ignores the question. Later, they have dinner, and then Norton brings them drinks. As they converse, it becomes apparent that Norton seems to support the zombies. Meanwhile, David's condition worsens, and he goes to the washroom, where he sees his veins transforming. When he returns, everyone is unconscious, and Norton is standing with a mechanical hand device. It seems he had spiked their drinks. As Norton sees David, he uses the device to subdue David, as it only affects infected individuals. Meanwhile, zombies, including their leader, reach the railway station. He smells David's waist bandage. Inside the house, Norton has tied everyone up and keeps a terrifying zombie woman caged, who is actually Norton's wife. He releases her but uses his device to control her. David breaks free and fights the zombie woman, defeating her and freeing his companions. Norton quickly escapes while Cassius and others grab the car keys and flee. Outside, Cassius grabs David, while Abigail focuses on escaping. Norton and his zombie wife also emerge from the house. Cassius puts everyone in the Norton's car and drives away. Norton and his wife follow, while zombies approach from the other side. What will happen to Cassius and the others? Cassius drives the car quickly, but zombies catch up. Megan starts having labor pains, and Cassius stops the car, telling everyone to get out. He shoots at the zombies, leaves David behind, and takes Megan and Abigail with him. David fights the zombies bravely, killing many, but the zombies' leader eventually kills him. Cassius takes the ladies to the seaside, where they see King Harbor. Abigail calls for help, and lights focus on them. Guards point guns at them, but then send a boat to rescue them. They sail away, leaving the zombies behind. The zombies' leader stops his followers from pursuing them. At King Harbor, Megan is taken for labor, and Cassius and Abigail are checked for infection. The night passes, and in the morning, Norton appears in the jungle among the dead zombies. At King Harbor, Cassius meets the colony's head, George. They introduce themselves, and a handsome boy, Roderick, appears, looking at Abigail, who notices him. Cassius and Abigail exit, and Cassius tells Abigail they will leave the next morning, to which Abigail shows disobedience. I think it's because of the boy Roderick. Abigail becomes rude to Cassius and starts doing things her way, which is not good, as Cassius had protected and strengthened Abigail. Abigail should not disobey Cassius. Let's see what happens next between them, as things have taken a turn. At King Harbor, Megan gives birth to a daughter and is on her last breath. She calls Cassius to her side and makes him promise to take care of her daughter, Hope, just as he had taken care of Abigail and Bill her Strongle. Megan gives Cassius a locket, and he takes the baby with him, wrapping her in a crochet blanket Megan had made. Nancy takes the baby to feed her. Meanwhile, in the jungle, zombies attack Norton, but he uses his machine to control them. At King Harbor, we see two men fighting, surrounded by a large crowd, including Abigail and Roderick. Roderick takes Abigail to a party where they enjoy music and dance until evening, while Cassius sits with his new responsibility, Hope, putting Megan's locket in a box. Later, Roderick takes Abigail to King Harbor's basement, where she finds a remote control, which is part of Plan B. If zombies enter King Harbor, this remote will detonate mines to destroy the entire place. You might wonder what Plan A is. Let's keep watching to find out. After explaining the remote, we see a tunnel door near Roderick and Abigail. This tunnel connects directly to Boat Town, allowing everyone to escape safely in case of chaos. Abigail is excited to see the tunnel. Later, we see Abigail and Roderick sitting and drinking together. Roderick asks if Abigail and her father will stay with them, and Abigail reveals that Cassius is not her father and shares the truth. The next morning, we see Norton leading a large group of zombies into King Harbor. The zombies quickly attack and infect many people. Abigail and Roderick join the fight, and Cassius, holding his baby daughter, navigates through the chaos, asking Nancy for Abigail. Nancy takes the baby from Cassius to ensure her safety. Cassius then searches for Abigail. Zombies attack many people, including George. A zombie approaches the girls, who are out of ammo, but Cassius kills it. Outside, Abigail is fighting zombies when Cassius arrives, and she quickly rushes to hug him. Zombies approach, and Abigail falls. Cassius falls too, with a zombie attacking him, but Cassius quickly shoots it. Then Norton appears, and zombies gather at the edge above. Norton tries to kill Cassius, but Cassius also fights Norton and destroys his machine, which controlled the zombies. Cassius escapes, and the zombies, now free from Norton's control, turn on him. First, his zombie wife attacks him, and then the zombies tear Norton apart. Norton meets his deserved fate. Cassius and Abigail are fleeing, pursued by the zombies' leader, who catches up to Abigail. Cassius quickly hits the zombie with a sword, and Abigail notices the zombie is wearing a bracelet with her name on it, which belonged to her father. Family photos also fall out of Abigail's bag. Abigail sees the photos and then looks at the zombie, realizing the horrifying truth. The zombie is her father, who couldn't escape the zombies and became infected. Cassius immediately picks up Abigail and flees. Everyone has reached Boat Town, and Roderick is waiting for Abigail and Cassius to arrive so he can blow up King Harbor. Abigail leads Cassius to the tunnel, and as they enter, Roderick presses the remote button, causing King Harbor to explode in an instant. The blast destroys everything, including the bag filled with Abigail's memories. Abigail and Cassius have safely arrived at Boat Town, where everyone is watching King Harbor explode. Suddenly, they notice John, who is infected and has arrived with a gun, threatening everyone not to come near him. Cassius tries to calm John down, but at that moment, the zombies' leader, Abigail's father, appears and attacks John. Everyone is frightened and starts running, while Cassius moves to kill the zombie. Abigail watches the entire scene. A fierce battle begins between Abigail's zombie father and Cassius, her caretaker, with both delivering their best fight. What will be the outcome of this battle? Whose side will Abigail take? Will she save her zombie father or Cassius, who has protected her until now? Abigail, in tears, picks up a gun and points it at both the zombie and Cassius. The zombie bites Cassius's arm, but his leather bracelet prevents the bite from penetrating. Cassius looks at Abigail, who is holding the gun with trembling hands but can't bring herself to shoot. How could she? The zombie is her father, whom she loved dearly. However, as her father leans in to bite Cassius, Abigail musters the courage to shoot him, saving Cassius. This was a difficult decision, but Abigail showed remarkable bravery. Abigail then rushes to Cassius and hugs him. Now, they are all free from the zombies, and a new life awaits them. Nancy brings baby Hope to Cassius, and they prepare to start their new journey together, marking the end of the film. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this zombie survival movie, please like, share, and subscribe for more updates.